Three-row SUVs in the EV segment are quite rare. In fact, there's not too many mainstream manufacturers that have designed and engineered crossovers quite like this. Mostly, this is reserved for the luxury markets and for premium buyers. But Kia has you covered here with the 2026 Kia EV9. In today's video, we're going to check out what this model has to offer. We're going to check out the exterior, the interior, take it out for a quick test drive, and more importantly, discover if this is an EV version of a Kia Telluride. Now, before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Gervais Kia in Lowell, Massachusetts for letting me come down here to check out the Kia EV9. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Kia inventory. So as always, let's begin with that pricing. For the 2026 Kia EV9 we have today, this is the Land, coming in at just under $69,000. This will sit near the top in the lineup, and it does sit above the Wind, which a lot of journalists do recommend going with that trim over the Land. But we're going to dive into the features that makes this particular model, I think, very competitive with the Volvo EX90, Tesla Model X, and Rivian R1S. Now, when you take a look at this market in general, though, there is no Chevy, there is no Ford, no Toyota or Honda. And the Kia EV9 could be seen as a huge risk, or possibly just an EV version of the Telluride. For those of you looking for a more family-friendly experience out of the electric market, the EV9 might be the way to go here, just taking a look at that pricing, and then of course its design, its features, and we're going to talk about that interior space, which I think is going to be the main selling point here. Now, as you can tell, this SUV is large. From far away, it almost looks like a full-sized SUV that would go head-to-head with maybe a Chevrolet Tahoe or other body-on-frame SUVs, but for this, it would be the EV version of that. However, when you get behind the wheel, when you check out the interior, when you drive it around, it is quite maneuverable. So don't be scared by the EV9. Now, design-wise, though, this is where the Kia EV9 not only takes some elements from the Telluride and kind of looks like a futuristic Telluride, but also, I think, looks quite stunning. So up front, you are going to receive full LED headlights here to go along with LED daytime running lights. Now, the two-tone look with the gloss black trim is a nice touch. That's why you should go with the nightshade package that is equipped on our model. It gives you a lower profile appearance, and I think is a nice contrast, not only up front, but also found throughout. For the lower portion of the front bumper, you are going to have some more gloss black trim. No plastic cladding. It doesn't look cheap. It doesn't look tacky. This looks very streamlined. Now, as you make your way over to the side profile, you are going to have 20-inch gloss black wheels. Now, with EVs, large tires don't make that big of a difference for ride quality. The suspensions, the extra weight of the battery, and the electric motors is going to help out with the lower center of gravity, helping you glide over the roadways. So really, this is going to be more for aesthetic purposes, and the 20-inch wheels matches what we have here for our model. Also, I love the gloss black trim that outlines the fenders, the wheel arches, and then the side profile. Nice classy touch there. You're also going to have gloss black side mirror caps with turn signal indicators to go along with blind spot detection for added safety. And there's also going to be gloss black trim outlining the windows and also for your roof rails. Then as you make your way around to the back, you're going to have those LED taillights that run vertically down the final third of this model. Again, kind of looks like a futuristic Telluride here, and then at the same time does have some body-on-frame styling elements that I know some of you might be appreciating here for this vehicle. You have that aggressive rear spoiler, which kind of tells you the EV9 isn't just going to be for luxurious purposes or for a family hauler. It's also going to be fun, possibly, when we take this vehicle out for a quick test drive. Then for the lower portion of the rear bumper, you're going to have that gloss black trim once again, tying everything together for this SUV, and we're going to have the darked out badges. So I really like what this model is offering. It's classy, it's sophisticated, and for Kia, this is a huge step forward in regards to design. Powering the EV9 we have today is dual electric motors, giving us 379 horsepower and 443 pound-feet of torque, and we are going to have a range of 283 miles. Now, that isn't going to be the best in this segment. However, at a DC fast charger, you can go from 10 to 80% in 24 minutes. So if you are on those longer road trips, that shouldn't be too much of an issue. Now, since we also have the dual electric motors, that gives us all-wheel drive for better year-round capability and versatility. and we have 7.8 inches of ground clearance. I highly doubt you're going off-road here with the EV9, but it's at least there if you are taking on some snow-covered roadways. Also, another thing too with this power output that we have for this model is going to be very linear. It's not going to be too aggressive unless you are in sport mode. So there is going to be a luxurious aspect to the EV9 that maybe you're not going to find out of the Telluride with that naturally aspirated V6. So if you are someone on the fence or ready to make that switch to a full EV product, the EV9 I think is a great vehicle here and an alternative in the Kia lineup. Now also, and this isn't always found in this market, you are going to have somewhat of a frunk. Now, with the all-wheel drive system, you're only going to have about maybe 2 cubic feet of room here. You could probably store a bag or some smaller items, but this isn't going to be super practical here. All the practicality is going to be for the interior and then, of course, that cargo space. But since we're talking about that interior, let's check it out. Hopping inside the Kia EV9 land, you're going to receive power adjustable, heated and ventilated Syntec seats for both the driver and passenger. With the driver's side having 2-position memory for added convenience and also a 2-level heated steering wheel. And those buttons will be found on the door panels for both sides up front. Interestingly enough though, for $70,000, you're not getting genuine leather. And if you are comparing this to a Kia Telluride, at $53,000, you get Napa leather upholstery, which feels really nice. Whereas with the EV9, much like many EVs in this segment, you get synthetic leather, which honestly isn't a major drawback or takeaway. I kind of look at these seats as being a highlight for the interior. They're plush, they're supportive, the bolstering is very aggressive, and it really helps out with the size of this SUV because you look at it from the outside and you think, wow, is this like the size of a Chevrolet Tahoe? And in reality, it's not. And the seats give you this more fighter jet-like cockpit feel that's going to help out with that maneuverability. Unfortunately, though, these seats are really all you have in regards to that luxurious aspect because the materials that Kia used for the dashboard, door panels, and center armrest are a bit hard to touch. And it really takes away what this vehicle should be offering at $70,000. It should be exuding a sense of class, quality, and luxury, and it doesn't do that. Now again, this is a mainstream manufacturer. You get the federal tax credits, which gets you right around $63,000. But that is one takeaway that I'm going to have here for the EV9, especially for the land. In front of you will be that heated steering wheel, which is going to be flat-bottomed and somewhat flat-topped, giving you aggressive 10-2 and firm 9-3 grips, which I think a lot of you are definitely going to love. You're also going to have the paddle shifters on the steering wheel as well, not to rotate the gears yourself, but to adjust the regen braking, where you can't have one pedal drive with the EV9, much like we saw with the EV6. Button layout on the steering wheel is the exact same as that EV6, and you're going to notice that with the technology. So in front of you will be a full digital gauge cluster here. It is not going to be super in-depth or intuitive, and in fact, it's a bit more simplified than the older Kia Hyundai technology found in that Telluride. So you can scroll through some information here, such as your torque distribution, your tire pressure monitoring system, your range guide. To the left will be your digital speedometer. To the right is going to be your remaining range. Also, you're going to have your percentage of battery life left as well. So very similar to that EV6. You can also access your onboard compass and turn-by-turn navigation. And then, of course, you have the layout for your driving assistance features as well. Now, also from this digital gauge cluster and with the EV9 land, you are going to have a drive mode selector for Eco, Normal, Sport, and My Drive. And then for the terrain management, Snow, Mud, and Sand. So really great to see there. Also, you will have that versatility since you have all-wheel drive and the near 8 inches of ground clearance. Now, before we take a look at the infotainment system between the digital gauge cluster and the user interface is going to be all your climate control settings. So from here, you can adjust the dual zone climate control up front, AC, front and rear defrosters, fan speed, and fan direction. Interestingly enough, though, you are going to have physical buttons on the dashboard, though, for that dual zone climate control and also where that airflow is moving. So I like the dual functionality there, even though you do have to reach for some of those buttons. Then taking a look at the infotainment system, this is the exact same software we saw in the EV6 and also the Kia Sportage. Now, I will say the resolution and quality is really good here. It's a bit of an upgrade over the older technology found in older Kia products. But unfortunately, there's no dial or buttons here on the center console where you can access menus and sub-menus efficiently. You are going to have touch-sensitive buttons on the dashboard for home, map, search, media, and setup, and also, of course, your favorite tabs as well, but that's it. So you are reaching for this screen, which again, I think is a bit of a takeaway here. Now from here you can watch YouTube videos, you can entertain yourself, voice memo, setup, and you're also going to have other sub-menus as well that you can dive into. We've talked about this very briefly in other newer Kia products, so I'm not going to go through all of this today, but I do think that this technology is very straightforward, not confusing, and you should get acclimated with it very quickly. Now, in placing the EV9 in reverse, you are going to have a number of different camera angles to work with, such as a rear backup camera with trajectory and also a top view as well. But better yet, you do get a 360-degree view, giving you better visibility overall. And then when you put the EV9 in drive, you get that front-facing camera. So a lot of visibility here, a lot of safety, and I think a lot of you are definitely going to appreciate that with the EV9. Now, beneath the head unit, you are going to find two USB-C inputs and a 12-volt outlet, and you're also going to have a cubby for a bag or two here. So a lot of practicality up front, and you're going to have this floating bridge that we're seeing a lot of in the EV segments, giving you very large cup holders. Also, buttons for your auto hold, your hill descent control, your parking assist features, and camera systems. You're going to find a wireless phone charging pad here. Then for the center storage compartment, it's very small, basically only for a wallet or another smartphone. And then to round out the front seating area, above we do have a dual pane sunroof, which brings in a lot of natural light to the interior, and we also have a digital rear view mirror, giving us better visibility when we are backing out of tight spots, and if you have kids in the second and third row. Now for passengers in the second row, they're going to feel like VIPs because you have so much interior space here, and then also with the Land, a lot of creature comforts and amenities. So first off, you get 42.8 inches of legroom, which if that's not class leading in this market, I gotta go find out that SUV that is, because this is incredible, much like with the Kia Telluride. This right here for me is the main selling point for the EV9, because if you do that larger family, you can accommodate everyone on those longer road trips. Now also by going with the Land, you do get captain shares, and captain shares not only give you better comfort for the second row, you also get more space for legroom in the third row, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So a lot of interior space for this model, and that's really going to help out with its flexibility and overall practicality. Also by going with the Land, you do get heated and ventilated second row seats and also climate control. So passengers back here are going to be very, very comfortable. On top of all this, you will have sunshades to block out the haters, and then also have some extra privacy if you are on those longer road trips, and maybe if you have laptops and smartphones, you don't want that sunlight gleaming down on you, you can put those up. You're also going to find two cup holders, and then for the center console, you will have a storage compartment here, which is very, very deep. I think you could probably store a couple water bottles, also possibly some tech gadgets if you want to entertain your kids in the second row. That is really cool to see. And then finally for the third row, by going with the Land and also the captain shares, you're looking at just under 33 inches of legroom, which would outclass a lot of three-row SUVs that are gas-powered. So this right here is going to be a great choice for a lot of you if you have smaller kids or even teenagers that are going to be sitting in the third row. This is what makes the EV9, in my opinion, a practical choice. Even though it's not going to be the most affordable choice, it's practical, and that is what's going to be a game changer at the end of the day. Also, with the Syntex upholstery, very comfortable here, a good amount of shoulder room, and better yet, you don't feel as though you're bolted to the floors here in the third row. So a lot of comfort. Also back here, you will have two cup holders on both sides of the third row and a USB-C outlet as well. So a lot of creature comforts, a lot of amenities, and this right here is what makes the EV9 and also the Telluride great choices in their respective markets. Now, if the second and third row seating areas weren't enough for you, maybe the cargo area will push you over the edge into the EV9 and getting one of these. Now, as expected for an SUV at around $70,000, you are going to receive a power liftgate. And inside, behind the third row seats, you're looking at right around 20 cubic feet of room. As you guys know, for three-row SUVs, which are now going to encompass the EV market as well, I like having SUVs with over 20 cubic feet of room behind the third row seats, and we have that here with the EV9. Very similar to the Kia Telluride. Now, as you can tell, I was able to fit all my camera gear today with no issues. That's 3 bags of camera gear, a gimbal box, and a tripod. So if you are going on a road trip with the family, maybe you're doing some errand runs, you can have your kids in the third row and get those groceries back here as well. Also, there will be some minor compartments beneath the floor mat for some smaller items, but aside from that, no extra practicality for the cargo area behind the third row. But when the third row seats are folded, you're looking at right on 43.5 cubic feet of room. Once again, almost identical to the Kia Telluride. So as you can tell here, there's a lot of similarities to that SUV and the EV9. Then with the second row seats folded, you're looking at right on 81.7 cubic feet of room. And that's going to give you a lot of flexibility and practicality overall. So if you're someone who has owned a Kia Telluride, you're ready to buy an EV version of that Telluride, I think that's where you're going to like the EV9. Simply put, I could have made this video very quick and said that the Kia EV9 is a Telluride with electric motors, and then just roll the credits. But I'm not going to do that for you guys. For a three-row SUV of this size, it drives a lot smaller than it looks from the outside, which for some of you looking for a family-friendly SUV that is electrified, this might be the way to go. Looking at the direct competitors, it's the Volvo EX90, the Rivian R1S, maybe even the Tesla Model X. These are non-traditional rivals for Kia. And the question is Kia ahead of the curve, or are they punching well above their weight, and is this vehicle even necessary? Now, I think it is necessary for its price point, because it does come in at around $60,000, then throw in the federal tax credit, so the model we have today is around $70,000. But still though, there's not many large SUVs that are fully electrified that are somewhat attainable. Now obviously the Kia EV9 is kind of designed to be more luxurious. Just the interior with the digital gauge cluster and infotainment system, even the ride quality, this is a bit better than the Kia Telluride, obviously since it has an internal combustion engine. But aside from that, there's not many options out there for someone who does have a larger family, and that's where the EV9 slots into place very nicely. While EVs are inherently performance-oriented, it does have a nice smooth composure on the roadways. Even with the larger tires that we have here for our model today, it glides over the roadways. Interior insulation really isn't that bad, and I do like the ride comfort. Now, due to its size though, it's not necessarily going to have the same lower center of gravity that you're going to find out of smaller EVs. There is some weight to it. It's a bit top heavy thanks to its size and also boxier dimensions. However, it's not drastically different compared to a three-row SUV with a gas motor, which is why making that leap isn't going to be a foreign experience to you. One thing I will say though is that don't let the design, don't let the size scare you off, because hopping inside this model for the first time, I feel fully connected, and also I'm fully adjusted to an SUV of this size. Due to the heavier steering input, and also the fact we have the self-leveling rear suspension, it has the ability to maneuver quite well, even in corners such as this. Now I do feel the body roll, I feel that weight transfer. However, it's a bit more agile and athletic than a Kia Telluride and other three-row SUVs that would be priced in this market that are gas-powered. Also, performance, nice linear power band. You don't get that kickback in your seat like you are going to experience with a Kia EV6, even for non-GT models. So I think this is going to be mostly a comfortable, smooth, and I don't necessarily want to say a luxurious experience, but comparing it to the rivals that are currently in this market, I think the EV9 can hold its own. But just like I said with the Kia Telluride, it's going to come back to the interior dimensions. It's going to come back to the practicality. Because at 42.5 inches of legroom for the second row, that's pretty much class leading. And this gives you a lot more versatility if you have that family, if you do go on those longer road trips, if you are using this as a daily commuter and family hauler. And that right there is where Kia is very competitive right now. Because you could make the argument, well, you know, the interior quality isn't going to be the same as what you're going to find in a Volvo or Rivian. The technology, yes, is a bit more trimmed down. It's not going to be competitive with others that would be in this class from luxury brands. But I do think you can overlook all of that, mostly due to the fact that you have a vehicle that is so spacious, that is so practical, and also at least rides very well too. Kind of reiterating what I had to say about the interior quality earlier on in today's video, I really love these seats. They're comfortable, they're supportive. I feel like the interior wraps around me, not because of the dashboard, even the center console, but mostly these seats. They're really nice, and I think that they're perfect if you are someone that is going on those longer road trips. You're going to find yourself very relaxed here, and I find myself relaxed in the EV9. Now, getting into the overall vision being behind the wheel of the EV9, you have a nice panoramic view. A-pillars are actually really thin for an SUV in this market, so I don't think you're going to have any blind spots when you are approaching intersections or red lights. Taking a look at your side mirrors, they are decently sized. I can see what's in my blind spots and the lane next to me. And then looking out back, nice clear view there, so if you do have kids in the second or third rows, you can see what's directly behind you. Also, of course, you do have a digital rear view mirror as well, if that is going to give you a bit more confidence when you are driving around the city and suburbs. Overall, though, I really am impressed with what this SUV has to offer. Yes, there are some weak points. You can tell with the dashboard layout, you can tell with the fact you don't have a lot of physical buttons, and the materials that they used is definitely geared towards more of a mainstream market. But everything outside of that, its handling, its cornering ability, its overall performance, even the range isn't too bad. And then also, again, factor in that pricing. That's what makes the EV9 a very compelling choice. As we get back on the highway here, into the corners, yes, you feel that weight transfer, but so quick and maneuverable. So all in all, after this very quick test drive with the Kia EV9, this is a good SUV. This is a good SUV for this class. Now obviously it's not going to feel like the new Cadillac products that are definitely more luxurious, that are tuned to be SUVs priced at $100,000 if not more. But for the mainstream segments and for a market that isn't oversaturated, where there isn't a lot of options out there, this is a solid alternative to those luxury brands that are currently in this price range. And on top of that, this is the perfect upgrade over that Kia EV6. So if you are in the market for a 3-row EV, take a look at the EV9. I think it will definitely surprise you in more ways than one. If it's not the performance, if it's not the handling, it's going to be the intangibles. It's going to be the interior space. It's going to be the practicality. And that flexibility will most certainly go a long way in this segment. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review for the 2026 Kia EV9. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys next time.